Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
I went to vote today for the mayoral election in my city. It was supposed to be a quick in and out thing, you know? But holy crap, did it turn into a whole circus act. Now just remember that names and places have been, let's say, altered to protect the guilty, although I would really like to DOX Karen LOL. So I get there, and the line's not too bad. I'm thinking, sweet, I'll be out of here in no time. I cast my vote, feeling all civic-duty-like, and head out. But then I realize my brother's still inside, so I figure I'll wait for him. Big mistake. I'm standing there, scrolling through my phone, when I start hearing this commotion. At first, I'm trying to ignore it, 'cause who wants to get involved in other people's drama, right? But it keeps getting louder and louder, and I can't help but look up. There's this woman, probably in her 50s, with a haircut that screams, "I want to speak to the manager." She's waving her arms around like she's trying to direct air traffic or something. And she's yelling, like full-on, no-holds-barred yelling at this poor election worker who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. I inch closer, trying to hear what's going on without looking too nosy. And then I catch it. She's trying to vote for this guy, let's call him Brad, who's running for mayor in the next city over. Now, Brad's got quite the reputation. He's one of those politicians who's always in the news for saying outrageous stuff, and people either love him or hate him. Personally, I think he's a total jerk, but whatever. The election worker, bless his heart, is trying to explain to this lady, let's call her Karen, 'cause if the shoe fits, that she can't vote for Brad. He's speaking real slow and calm, like he's talking to a kid. "Ma'am," he says, "I understand you want to vote for Brad, but he's not running in our city. He's a candidate in Neighborville, not here in hometown." But Karen's not having it. She's getting redder by the second, and I swear I can see steam coming out of her ears. "This is ridiculous," she shrieks. "I have the right to vote for whoever I want. You can't tell me who to vote for." The worker tries again. "Ma'am, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm explaining that Brad isn't on our ballot because he's not running in our city. You can only vote for the candidates running in hometown." Karen's voice goes up another octave. "I didn't even know that was possible. This is voter suppression. You're trying to silence me. I demand to speak to whoever's in charge." By this point, everyone in line is staring. Some people look annoyed, others are trying not to laugh, and a few are nodding along with Karen like she's making perfect sense. The election worker looks like he's considering a career change. He takes a deep breath and says, "Ma'am, I am in charge here. And I'm telling you, it's not possible to vote for Brad in this election. He's not on our ballot. Would you like to see the list of candidates who are running in our city?" Karen snatches the list from him and starts scanning it frantically. "Where's Brad? Where is he? This list is incomplete. You've removed him." The worker, who deserves a medal for patience, explains again. "Brad isn't on the list because he's not running in our city. These are all the candidates for hometown." Karen looks at the list, then at the worker, then back at the list. You can almost see the gears turning in her head, but they're not quite connecting. But I saw Brad on TV. He was talking about being mayor." "Yes, ma'am," the worker says, "but he was talking about being mayor of Neighborville, not hometown. Each city has its own election." Karen's quiet for a moment, and I think maybe, just maybe, it's sinking in. But nope, she explodes again. "This is a conspiracy. You're all in on it. You're trying to keep Brad out of office because you're scared of him. He's going to drain the swamp, and you can't handle it." "I can't help it," I snort out loud. Karen whirls around and glares at me. "You think this is funny? Our rights are being trampled on." I hold up my hands in surrender. "Lady, I'm just waiting for my brother. But for what it's worth, the guy's right. You can't vote for someone who's not running in your city." Karen's eyes narrow. "Oh, so you're part of this too? Are you? What are they paying you? How deep does this go?" I'm about to respond when I hear a couple of people in line start muttering. "Wait, we can't vote for Brad? But that's who I came here to vote for." Oh boy, this is getting better by the minute. The election worker looks like he's aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. He raises his voice to address the whole line. "Folks, let me clarify for everyone. This election is for the mayor of hometown. Only candidates running in hometown are on our ballot. If you're here to vote for a candidate from another city, I'm sorry, but that's not possible." There's a mix of reactions. Some people nod in understanding. Others look confused, and a few look as angry as Karen. One guy shouts, "But Brad's the only one talking sense. Who are we supposed to vote for if not him?" The worker holds up the list of candidates. "These are your options for hometown mayor. I encourage you all to read about them and make an informed decision." Karen's not done, though. She snatches the list again and starts reading out the names. "Who are these people? I've never heard of any of them. How can we vote for someone we don't know?" I can't help myself. I pipe up, "Maybe because you've been too busy watching news from the next city over instead of paying attention to what's happening here." Karen whirls on me again. "You stay out of this. This is between me and them." She jabs a finger at the election workers. My brother finally emerges from the voting booth, looking confused at the commotion. I grab his arm. "Dude, let's get out of here before it gets ugly." But he's curious now. "What's going on?" I give him the quick rundown, and he starts laughing. "Are you serious? People came here to vote for Brad? Don't they know how elections work?" Karen overhears him and stomps over. "And what's that supposed to mean, young man? Are you mocking me?" My brother, never one to back down, says, "I'm not mocking you, ma'am. I'm just surprised that you didn't know you can only vote for candidates in your own city. Didn't you learn that in school?" "Oh, you shouldn't have said that." Karen's face turns an impressive shade of purple. "How dare you? I'll have you know I'm a taxpayer and a citizen. I have the right to vote for whoever I want." The election worker, who I'm pretty sure is considering early retirement at this point, steps in. "Ma'am, please lower your voice. You're disrupting the voting process. If you're not going to cast a vote for one of the hometown candidates, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Karen looks like she's about to explode. "Leave? Leave? I'm not leaving until I get to vote for Brad. This is America, land of the free, home of the brave. You can't silence me." By this point, a small crowd has gathered outside the polling station, drawn by the commotion. Some are filming on their phones, and I just know this is going to end up on social media later. The election worker signals to a police officer who's been standing by the door. The officer approaches, looking wary. "Is there a problem here?" Karen turns her fury on the cop. "Yes, there's a problem. These people are trying to stop me from voting for Brad. They're violating my constitutional rights." The officer looks at the election worker, who gives him a "Can you believe this?" look. The worker explains the situation quickly. The officer turns to Karen. "Ma'am, I understand you're frustrated, but the election worker is correct. You can only vote for candidates running in your city. If you're not going to vote for one of the listed candidates, you need to leave so others can vote." Karen looks from the cop to the election worker to me and my brother, then back to the cop. For a second, I think she might actually back down. But nope, she plants her feet and crosses her arms. "I'm not leaving until I get to vote for Brad. This is voter suppression and I won't stand for it." The officer sighs. "Ma'am, this is your last warning. Vote for a listed candidate or leave the premises. If you don't, I'll have to remove you." Karen's eyes go wide. "Remove me? You wouldn't dare. I'm a law-abiding citizen exercising my rights." The officer looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Ma'am, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. You have the right to vote, but only for candidates in your city. That's the law." Karen's voice rises to a shriek. The law is wrong. Brad will change it when he's mayor." The officer reaches for her arm. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me." And that's when all hell breaks loose. Karen starts screaming at the top of her lungs, flailing her arms like she's trying to take flight. "Help! Help! I'm being oppressed. This is police brutality. Someone film this." The officer, trying to be as gentle as possible, attempts to guide her towards the exit. But Karen's not going quietly. She grabs onto a nearby table, sending voter registration forms flying everywhere. People in line are backing away, some looking scared, others pulling out their phones to record the spectacle. My brother and I are frozen in place, watching this train wreck unfold. Karen's still shrieking as the officer finally manages to detach her from the table. "You'll all be sorry when Brad hears about this. He'll sue this whole city. You haven't heard the last of me." As the officer escorts her out, Karen's still yelling about Brad and voter rights and conspiracies. The last thing we hear before the door closes is her shouting, "I'll be back with my lawyer." The polling station is dead silent for a moment after she's gone. Then, slowly, people start talking all at once. The election worker looks shell-shocked, straightening his rumpled shirt and trying to gather the scattered forms. My brother turns to me, eyes wide. "Did that really just happen?" I nod, still processing. "Yep. Welcome to Election Day in hometown." As we're leaving, I overhear a couple more people in line asking about voting for Brad. The election worker, who deserves a raise and a vacation, patiently starts explaining again. On the way home, my brother and I can't stop talking about what we just witnessed. Can you believe some people don't know how local elections work? He says, shaking his head. I shrug. Guess not. But man, that was something else. I almost feel bad for that Brad guy, having supporters like that. My brother laughs. Yeah, with friends like those, who needs enemies? We spend the rest of the day checking news sites and social media, watching as the story of the Brad lady, as she's been dubbed, spreads. Videos of her meltdown are going viral, and the memes are already rolling in. As the polls close and results start coming in, we see that Brad lost the election in Naperville. I can't help but wonder how Karen's taking the news. Part of me almost wants to go back to the polling station tomorrow, just in case she tries to demand a recount or something. One thing's for sure, I'll never look at local elections the same way again. And I've got a feeling neither will anyone else who was at that polling station today. Who knew voting could be such an adventure?
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.